Good afternoon, everyone, and happy Monday to you. Welcome to our weekly PAM Town Hall Forum. Uh, this week's Town Hall Forum is called Alive and Rising, and it's featuring our special guest, Reverend Dr. Tracy Keenan and Reverend Aisha Brooks Lytle. They'll be joined by one of our PAM board members, Phillip Morgan, and they'll all talk about the new composition that Tracy and Aisha have written called This Is Who We Are. Uh, there will be opportunities for you all to ask questions or give feedback several times during this town hall forum. And if you're not familiar with GoToWebinar, what you'll do is you'll find the question box in your window, your browser window, and you can type in your question. Or when the time comes to ask questions, you can click on raise your hand and be called upon and speak to our presenters directly. And without any further ado, I'd like to welcome Phillip Morgan, Tracy Keenan, and Aisha Brooks Lytle.
Well, hello there. Thank you, Andrew, and thank you and welcome to Tracy and Aisha. I think we're in for a treat today to talk about this piece of music you've written collaboratively and very creatively, and we're all about that at PAM. And the way you've done it seems like such a model for the time we're currently in that I'm really interested to hear some things. I think we should start at the beginning with this piece is written with the Vision 2020 statement in mind. And I imagine that most of our listeners don't really know what that is. For avid PAM people and those who really keep up, it was also the guiding factor for our composition contest. But Tracy, Aisha, either one of you, can you briefly tell us what the 2020 vision statement is all about?
Yes. At the General Assembly 2 years ago, there had been the establishment of this Vision 2020 team, which was given the task of trying to come up with a guiding statement for helping us to, as I like to think of it, remembering who we are and how we're going to step into the future, and to make it accessible and succinct. And so they developed this beautiful guiding statement. But the bones of the statement are based on the letters PCUSA, to describe ourselves as the Presbyterian Church as being people of prayer, people of courage, people of unity, people who serve, and my personal favorite, people who are alive. So that's the background of the guiding statement itself. Did you want me to continue here?
No, that's great and really succinct, okay. And I didn't think it would be that short. I'm so surprised. I mean, she said that so eloquently and succinctly, but that guiding statement is like 2 pages long. So it was a lot of material that came out of that team's hard work. How did you get involved in writing a song tied to the guiding statement?
Well, I got a phone call from Doris Evans, and this was before PAM even set up their competition for the composition. So I got a PAM from Doris, who was a member of the Vision 2020 team. And she explained to me the work that they were doing and that they had this document ready to rock and roll, and asked if I would write a song about it. And before I could even think, I thought, well, sure, yeah, that'd be great. And then after we got off the phone, I was thinking, how do you write a song about an acronym? You know, like they don't rhyme, they don't, you know. I also need to say at this point, when she had called me, I was like 20 minutes into my new job of being an executive presbyter in Newcastle Presbytery. And I have been a pastor for 30 years, done a lot of work with committee on ministry, that sort of thing. But now suddenly I'm an EP type person. We call me the missional presbyter. And I'm tasked with looking at all of these churches and hearing these words of the guiding statement in terms of what I'm hearing from all of the churches. And so the words came first. There was the first verse is literally about the P, the CUSA. It doesn't go like give me a P. It's, you know. Let's hear it. Well, I do have to tell you, my former home is Ohio. And in Ohio, you greet one another by spelling the name of the state. It's a thing. You yell like OH and someone else will go IO. And that's so
That
that's not how
explains a lot. That explains a whole.
It does. Okay. So we, talking to a lot of small struggling churches, talking to churches that actually look really healthy and vibrant on the outside, there was so much fear. People talking about fear of dying, always talking about how things are sliding downhill. And I was thinking this Vision 2020 statement is coming just at a perfect time because we need to be reminded of who we are. Instead of looking at like, oh my gosh, remember who we used to be and we're not that anymore. And this sense of discouragement. So I thought, well, this is where we really need to hear this. So I wrote the lyrics,
Which are everyone. If you look on the side under handouts, you'll see several documents there. The easiest probably to read for just lyrics and a brief melody is the This Is Who We Are lead sheet PDF. I think that's near the top of your handouts.
Yeah.
So Tracy, you took a stab at the lyrics, wrote the lyrics.
I did.
And then how did you link up with Aisha to write the music?
I can take,
tell how we met.
I can take this one. So I met Tracy at a creative songwriters workshop in Nashville, Tennessee. This is right after I had become the executive presbyter here in Atlanta. So I was, if she was 2 minutes on the job, I was like 5 minutes on this. And this is before she got commissioned to do this piece. So I guess it's September 2018. We love Jonathan Brooke. If you don't know who that is, take your time, Google later. You will thank us later. This is like our musical muse, our sister, auntie, girlfriend. She's just an amazing vocal. She's been in the game for a long time. Long story short, we're at this singer-songwriter conference, and who thinks that other Presbyterian ministers are just going to be there? There was me and you, another like UCC guy. I mean, it was beautiful. And so I was writing a song in tribute to my late husband, and Tracy was doing other pieces, and just all of this came together. So we connected and did some collaborative work at her church in Ohio. So when you meet a singer-songwriter who's also a minister, you're just like, oh my gosh, like you just connect. And so you find another person like yourself, right? It's a both and kind of call. And one is not diminished over the other. They work in tandem. And so our relationship has been that since that September 2018. And so can I say the part about Baltimore? Can I say that, Tracy? Where you asked me? So I'd like to describe it as Tracy, this is her song. And then she was like, you got a jar of hot sauce. Can you just throw a little something? Put some sriracha on it. Like, can you just give a little jazz? I was also a jazz voice major in college. So that's the other side too. So you got music and seminary, hot sauce, whatever. Anyway, so she says, Aisha, I have to play this for other colleagues at a mid-council gathering. Can you sing with me? Now, I didn't catch that we were really singing this in front of like a bigger group of people. I was like, yeah, I practiced at the piano. Then I was like, oh yeah,
Like in 5 minutes.
like in 5 minutes. I was like, wait, do that part again. I was like trying to get the note. Oh my gosh. Anyway, what came from that conversation of like, if this is what I would shift in it. This is what I would do harmonically and melodically that would be a little bit different, and repeat here and change the notes there and ad lib here. And so out of that came, let's do a recorded version of this in Atlanta. And so that's how this kind of thing that people have now was actually recorded here at my house. My upper room area, we call it the upper room studio. So that's code
The
word for
upper room.
the upper room.
Sorry.
So it again, to your point earlier, Philip, but just the organic nature that a relationship that started in 2018, then we're both doing mid-council stuff. She's asked to do this thing. She invites me to do that thing. And then we've got a room full of people to record in-house a representation of a message. That's just huge. That I think people need right now. So that's kind of how it warmed together.
I think the thing I haven't told both of you is that I walked into the hotel the night after you all had done that jam session in Baltimore, and I had no idea there were a whole bunch of other Presbyterians there, and they all began to tell me about what you all were doing. I was like, who? What? I didn't. So I just missed it by like 2 hours.
That is
Um,
crazy.
yeah, small world. I think now would be a great time for people to actually listen to the song now that they've heard how it all came to be.
Sure.
Can
Andrew
I
is. Oh
can I
yeah,
call
Tracy.
one little thing in there, and that is the chorus, which is Aisha brought we had a couple of other singers in there and so forth, and they do these beautiful tone shifts and harmonies in it that just make it staggering. But the words there are that we are alive and rising, stirring and stirred by the life-breathing word. This is who we are. So I want you to pay special attention to the chorus of that. The stirring and stirred is sort of like reformed and always reforming, but it's that the word is what's bringing something alive in us.
That's right.
So anyway.
So in your chat, Andrew has just sent a message that says link to recording. Click on that, and we'll all listen. We'll all click and listen to it individually, and then come back for some discussion. It's loading. So it ended for me. I don't know if everybody hit the same recording at the same exact moment. I tried to start mine a little late to give you a little extra time. Um,
Thank you.
but what a fantastic song. What a fantastic song. I have to start with that. Um, so it's I, the thing I am most struck by when I listen to the song are the lyrics, and they're just um, I don't know if it's being in the season of Eastertide like I've never known it in quarantine that is
Mm,
making these words come so much alive for me. Obviously, you had no idea that this is what Easter 3 would look for like for us when you wrote these words. But now that you're living through this with us, what do these words mean even to you who wrote them, Tracy?
mm-hmm.
Ooh,
Hmm.
that's a that's a thoughtful question. Um, I think that so much of what we're called to do is to live into what we don't see yet.
Mm,
For Easter, all of us were, singing our alleluias in very small and tinny voices through little speakers on computers or on phones or whatever. Um, our Easter finery looked a lot like jammies for some of us. We're singing Christ is risen, and we're not anywhere living into that. There's this sort of like, really? Is this real? Is this true? And
yeah.
and for me also, so much of the Vision 2020 statement has to do with taking the theology sort of out of here and putting it like right where your feet hit the ground. There's this sense of Christ is risen. So
Yep.
what does that mean for how we live? We believe in the Trinity. So, what does that mean for how we live, how we're going to be out there? Why does that take courage? What does it mean to be stirred? What does it mean to keep stirring, like stirring from sleep as much as,
Mm,
stirring the world around us? There are just layers to the meaning there. So for Easter, when most of us are sitting somewhere on a sofa or at a kitchen table trying to kind of get the vibe of it, we're trying to remember who we really are, because we're far more than what it feels like at the moment.
Yeah, Aisha, I know you talked about the hopefulness of the text and how
yeah.
that is really pertinent for what we're going through.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, just go ahead. I mean, you said it so beautifully the other day when we were
So
talking.
sweet. I want to say that the lyrics, but I also want to, we have so many musicians on this having this conversation, but the shape and the texture and the subtleties of the piece. I've had a lot of people making sense of Easter for the disciples, that it was not trumpets. It was not like dun 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 dun, Christ is risen. That's us now. But that first Easter morning, when I think about how like it's just like a subdued aspect of this song, that these like the women that go to the tomb, they don't know what they're gonna see, but they woke up that morning and they're like, we're alive and rising. So all I know is I woke up today and that means something. So I'm gonna go see
Mhm.
about this savior that they've laid to rest. And then this whole thing wakes up in a way that literally has changed the world. And so that's what I love about this song, is that it's not this triumphant, we've done it, look at us. It's like the way those women woke up to say, wow, something was stirring and stirred in them. And they get to the tomb and they're like, why are you looking for him? He's not here. Mary, like every image of them going there, or the disciples running, be like, what? Like all of this fear and trembling, but each moment being like, just keep me moving to a bigger hope. And that's what I love
Yeah.
about this song, because the how it has been constructed and how the harmonies overlay is a deep humility in it. If you, and I'm gonna encourage people, listen to that thing again. And I'm not just saying it because I'm harmonies and I love Tracy, but when I even just now I'm listening to it, I'm like, wow, this is the posture that you take. Lord, I don't understand how I'm alive and rising, but I know because of you I am. I don't understand how I'm gonna get going, but because of you I can. It's just like this. It's this movement that's happening underneath. It's like, don't give up, just churning and churning and churning and churning.
Aisha, that is so incredibly insightful. And I thought those things too. And I was
Mm,
drawing the parallel in my mind to um, that what you're explaining, and African American sacred music, that, has been handed down to me. So, I mean, in the words you just said, I mean, I
mm.
think of that song that I heard old people sing. I woke up this morning and my mind was nothing but focused on Jesus.
Yeah.
Um,
Stayed on G.
right. And
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
the things you've captured in this song really get at that. Um, I think we should take some
Mm.
questions. The people who have questions
Yeah.
about how you've composed this, or things that you point to theologically in the song. Andrew, are you there?
I'm here, and before I call on, there are a couple folks that have their hands up, but I did want to share that after the song was played, there were several comments that came through, and I'm seeing words like "Wow, I love it, beautiful, what a gift to the church."
Mm.
So
Yeah.
uh, this is obviously and rightfully so made an impression. Um, but let's get to the first person that has their hand up is Marcia Mervin. Marcia, go ahead.
Hi,
Well, I
Marsha.
didn't have any questions. I just said it's absolutely beautiful. I love it. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you,
Oh,
Marcia.
thank you.
The only question I do have, are we free to print out the music from this handout here?
Let me, sure, yes. That is, sure, why not? There are, I'm looking at the handouts that are there. There is the lead sheet that is sort of a very compressed lead sheet, just has basic harmonies for one verse. There's the full harmony lead sheet, which has the different harmonies that we did on the recording, except for that beautiful lyrical ad lib part, which like you're on your own. You can listen to the recording of it and try and approximate it, or you can see what God's calling out in you. But there's that. Then there's the full score, which has the piano part, all of the vocals in it. Does not have the ad lib part. That's why it's ad lib. The only thing that we would ask is that if you report things through CCLI, that you use that number when you use it. That's the only thing that we would ask. But we're delighted that people want to use it. Yes.
so,
I,
Aisha.
I would say, particularly in this virtual age, I've had people. I had a church use this song for their Easter morning worship experience, and they had beautiful images of their garden at their church, and had the song playing underneath. So, if there are creative ways that you're using the piece, particularly while we're in this virtual way of doing worship, let us know. I mean, we both are easily accessible on both of our respective presbytery websites, and Phillip and Andrew can give you our contact info. But it's just a beautiful way to share how people are interpreting the piece. So that would be just for fun to know that.
Yeah, we would love to know. Yes.
Thank you.
Other question, Andrew?
Okay, and we have Shirley Hipwell. Has her hand raised.
Hi,
Shirley,
Shirley.
if you unmute yourself, you can go ahead.
Shirley, are you there? I feel like a radio announcer. Have we lost Shirley?
I know exactly how you feel, Philip. Shirley, if you will unmute yourself with the little microphone button, you can speak directly. Well, we'll move on. We have a
And I hope
question
she can put
from,
it in the chat.
yes,
Yeah.
you can always type your question in the chat. We're going to move on to Deanne Cunningham. Deanne, if you will unmute yourself, you can go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Deanne Cunningham. I am a member of the Vision 2020 team. Tracy,
Oh,
it is so good to see you again, Aisha. I have been watching you since you recorded this piece for us.
oh,
I want to say thank you. God has truly been working with
hmm,
us as the Vision 2020. And we were introduced to Tracy through one of our colleagues, Doris. And Doris just simply asked, "We need a song, write it." And
hmm,
Tracy did. Um, if you know the backstory of our work, we've been working since 2016 to come about with a vision, a guiding statement for the church and the church worldwide. And God gave us those words. They didn't come
hmm,
easy. It was a
hmm,
lot of prayer, a lot of sweat, a
hmm,
lot of tears, a lot of opposition,
Mhm.
but he brought it through. And as you were saying earlier, Aisha, how God, his divine providence works in
hmm.
connecting us. And it
That's right.
it was just so organic as to how
Yeah,
things came about.
yeah.
But this is a true evidence of God's hand at work, and
Hmm.
us to be able to see that he is present with us in all things and
That's
in
right.
all times. So
That's right.
Tracy, I say that it is purpose, it is destined that you sit here celebrating this beautiful piece of work that God blessed you with and us with
That's
you.
right.
So I
That's
say
right.
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you and thank God. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Thank you so much. Deanne was also on the team that helped pick the winner for the PAM anthem competition.
Okay.
Um, so we've had some great conversations about this guiding statement and music and how they go together. Andrew, is there one more question out there maybe?
Can I throw in one more thing about the guiding statement?
Sure.
On the PCUSA website, there is a fabulous study guide. This is not in color, but there is a study guide to doing this that you can do with your sessions, you can do with, folks in your congregations that really helps them. At the Baltimore thing, they had phrases from the
Mhm.
guiding
That's right.
statement, and you could go put post-it notes on the ones that you thought were, and draw pictures around them and so forth for the ones that really spoke to you and why. And it was amazing because people had different ones for different reasons. The way, God was working through all these different hearts and showing it up in a visual way. They have great ideas. So anyway,
Yeah, that's
the
great.
work continues. We can engage with it in different ways.
That's right.
Any other questions from our listeners about the theology or specifically the text of this piece and how it was composed, or either what it might mean for your congregations? No hands out there, Andrew? Where'd he go? Okay,
Did we
I'll take that
did
as
we
I'll
lose?
take that as a no.
Sorry
Awesome,
about that,
Brian.
Philip.
Oh,
Philip, can you
there
hear
you are.
me now? Sorry
Yeah.
Yeah.
about that. I had a minor problem with my audio. We have a couple of questions. One written, and
Oh.
I'll deliver this one to you. Uh, and this is from a musical standpoint. This is from James Kohler. He says, I especially appreciate the text of this piece. I see this arrangement as a powerful anthem for choir, but I'm not sure if it would be accessible for congregational singing, especially for more traditional, older folks. Do you have any thoughts or suggestions on how to introduce this new piece as a hymn?
Aisha, go ahead.
I think the refrain, the chorus and the refrain, I know that when we've introduced in other churches that I've worked for that were more very, European classical traditional type churches, if there was a refrain in the hymn, almost like a cantor would, have them sing, we're alive and rising, stirring and stirred by the life, giving word. This is who we, life breathing word. This is who we are. Even if it's just the refrain of this is who we are, or just dealing with the chorus and the refrain. It can be used liturgically before you came to the table. I think you can definitely as an anthem piece, but also what are the other ways in the order of worship that chorus and refrain can be lifted up. I could definitely see the choir leading as an anthem, but then on the chorus inviting the congregation to have that. And then if there's part of sort of the church's repertoire, then you can interpolate it in other places in the liturgy, like before, before prayers or, at the table. That's just I love to see cross genre work happen in worship.
Yeah.
Again, jazz major is my background, but I sang with the oratorio at my old church. I love to see what the young people call as a mashup of some sort and getting people to say, let's bend a little bit to the genres we may be more comfortable in, to say, let's try something different. Where a more contemporary context, this would be good for them to try and do and more as an anthem piece. So that's my little
Right.
2 cents.
I think you're exactly right, Aisha. The you can easily, I think, hearing this piece get trapped into trying to recreate what Aisha and Tracy have done. And that's wonderful, but your congregation's not going to sound like that when they sing it all together. Um, and it's not going to be worse or bad. It's just going to be different.
Different.
So you're not going to have perhaps one singers on each mic creating these amazing harmonies and guitar coming in at the third verse. But I think it is doable as a piece of congregational song. One of the questions I have about doing it as a congregational song is I can't always tell Tracy and Aisha, and you can help me with this, where the melody is because the harmonies you've created in your recording are so, well, they seem essential. I know they're not. I know there is a melodic idea in there, but they add so much for me. I wonder which strain of those harmonies is actually the melodic idea that people could sing in unison.
I think that's why we did. Tracy was real adamant, like Aisha, sing by yourself in the beginning, sing by yourself at the end, and if you can kind of follow that through, I think it's really, really important. And I'm just gonna say real quick, I think the where the augmentation happens vocally. I was at a worship service and they had an anthem, and the violinist was the kind of a violinist who could improvise as well, or just had written lines to do that. So don't just think about what voices can do, but classical saxophone or a violin or cello. Like there's other ways to layer that where you don't have to get caught so much in that as well.
And I'll also add, looking at this, if I just look at it on paper, it is less daunting and actually more classical in construction than somebody might think by listening to it. So I would argue that what you've written, is actually perhaps easier for a congregation to sing than something like For Everyone Born, which tons of our congregations sing. It's in the hymnal, but that rhythmically, melodically is actually more complex than what you've given us. So I think the big answer to that question about how can my congregation sing it is to actually look at it musically and get to the nuts and bolts of it, and not try to recreate Aisha's great riffing at the end.
But Tracy, am I correct to say that what I'm singing melodically is the same? Because if you listen to that voice, it's this, and then it's Lindsay doing stuff above and other stuff below, right?
Mostly. There are certain places, because I tried to, I tend to write an alto. I'm an alto. Aisha's an
Oh
alto.
my,
I
yeah.
tend to write an alto as a lead melody, and the other people working around it. I did notice that when I was writing out the full score with all of the harmonies, that you can't just say the alto line is the melody, because there were a few places where Aisha needed to
Oh
come
yeah, you're
do
right.
a couple of interesting
You're
tones.
right.
We gave
Lindsay.
Lindsay the melody line there. So there's most of it, the melody is the alto part, but there, when the harmonies are there, I say go with what Aisha said. The harmonies themselves, it's the whole blend of things that's the important thing. It's not where's that one note and let everybody else work around it. It's like let the whole thing happen. And I would echo too. It's not a terribly sophisticated song, so I don't think it's going to be very difficult for a congregation
Yeah.
to sing. I think they would catch on to it fairly easily.
I also noticed when I was playing around with it and with an eye towards how could I do this with my congregation, after I figured out, oh, the melody is a lot of times in the alto because this is written for Aisha to sing, who's got a beautifully rich low voice.
Yeah.
I actually experimented and sort of came to the conclusion that if I did this with my congregation, I would probably transpose it up to B flat.
Oh, absolutely. Take it up. Because I
Yeah.
made Tracy take it down. So I was like, what key is that? Oh no, ma'am. You got to bring that down for me. Oh no, ma'am. Mm-mm, mm-mm. So please, by all means, take license, transpose, please.
Yeah. So I
Please.
think all of that's to say is this piece is way more uh, versatile than you think. We've got a comment in the chat from, and I'm just going to be totally, nepotism here, from David Eicher, who acted as editor of the Glory to God hymnal and is a good friend of
Oh,
mine.
hey.
So can we unmute David and hear what he's got to say?
Oh, actually, he sent his suggestion in via chat. He says
Oh, okay.
the last part of the refrain, "This is who we are," could be used as a response to a declaration of faith.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
so. Oh, that's good. You preaching now, Doc. You preaching.
There's Aisha. So let's do it differently. Let's put these parts in. Aisha had,
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
that's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
That's right.
so thanks, David, for that comment. I'll ask, are there any questions about other specific musical things, or questions about how you think you could use this with your congregations or choirs? Um,
Currently, I'm not seeing any hands raised or any questions right now.
well, that's great. I think maybe we answered them all. That's why there are no questions. Um, So Tracy and Aisha, I think people have seen, even just in this short time, how well you work together and just the fun energy between the two of you.
Yeah.
How have you been feeding that creative, collaborative part of you during quarantine? I mean, I know
Oh.
this song was born with you two in a hotel at a piano, but how have you been creating those same kinds of things using screens and little boxes?
Ah, well,
Aisha, go ahead.
both. Yep, go ahead.
I so I downloaded a little app called Voicey. It's sort of like TikTok for singers, if you will. And
Mm-hmm.
it is, this is, I think, forcing us to be, again, connect things digitally. And I had a song that I wrote years ago, and it's not all the way done, but the refrain is it's this image of Jesus speaking to the storm, right? He spoke peace to the storm, he spoke life to the storm, he spoke hope to the storm till there was peace. Now, in my mind, I've got my brain and how I wanted it arranged and what I wanted to do. And so I had a chance to sing over a different beat because you can choose different beats, you can choose different loops. And so I just sang something different. And the way the app works, this is collaborative. This is also a message in and of itself. If you post it, another friend can grab it, harmonize with it, and repost it. So I was just, tooling around. It was my day off. I said, let me try to create something today. So I created that. Then a good musician friend of mine in Philadelphia, Gene Burke, who's a great singer, songwriter as well, musician, sent it back to me. And I was like, what is this? And so we posted it on Facebook. People are like, are you going back into the studio? I need this song right now. Praise the Lord. Like, I mean, all kinds of responses. I'm like, this thing isn't even done yet. I got to send it to folks like Tracy and Gene to get it rounded out. But what I thought was, even the sprinklings, the crumbs, the micro movements of creativity have power to really impact people. So for me, it's like, what little app or digitized thing or musical thought? Tracy emailed me some stuff. I've been listening to it. I got to send her stuff back. Other musicians have sent me stuff. So really, it's, you got to create. And so that's my goal. Like, what can I create? If it's a song, a melody, something that was from back here that can inspire. Like, I just have to keep it up. So that I've really downloaded different apps that I would never have used to try and record musical ideas to see if they are going to birth into something.
Hmm. Tracy, how are you creating and collaborating right now?
Well, some of what Aisha already said. I want to say something that Aisha said to me when she was an EP and I was like a hiccup away from becoming an EP. And we were talking about songwriting. We were talking about being creatives. I said, how am I still going to go to songwriting seminars or songwriting workshops and so forth? It was considered part of my job as a pastor for some reason, but would it be that way for this too? And she said, make it clear from the beginning that your creative work is a part of what gives life to you and it shapes what you do. And I will also say that if I don't do this, if I start to pull back and think like, oh, that's extra, that's stuff that feeds my soul. It's not really necessary for the work I'm doing. And you hear this all the time with schools and society going like, oh, the arts, like that's on the cake and so forth. I would like to say that in the time of a pandemic, having creative work to do prevents homicide. Like, I'm serious. This is a thing that just helps your soul breathe all the way. So I started recording stuff. Aisha had encouraged me to get to know GarageBand again, which I did. That sort of thing, and finding like this little apps, things that we can play with, listening to. Sometimes I'll record something on a loop and then I'll go for a walk with it, playing in here, and I'll sing 50,000 things with it until something sticks. And then, with that, sharing back and forth, we just make each other better when we work together and we collaborate together, and it's life giving, and it's not like possible, negotiable, it's fine, or whether you have it or not. No, this is like life giving. This is like breathing. You have to be creating. It's part of what our creator, if we're created in the image of God, we too are creators. So there's that.
Phillip, I want to say also, if you are a musician and you can record or upload public domain original content, upload that in different venues, because you have no idea how it's going to impact somebody. Phillip, you have recorded yourself singing by the piano, and when I need a good cry, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna click on Phillip. I'm gonna get in my prayer closet. I'm just gonna go, And
yeah, exactly. And I will tell you, Aisha, those videos are really hard and uncomfortable for me to record because I do not feel like a great performer. I don't like to sing if I think somebody's actually listening. So, church is easy. I think, oh, they're all singing along. They're not actually listening to me, So that's why I work in church music. And I think a lot of my colleagues are like that too. but I have felt the need to produce those videos for people because it's pastorally what I need to
That's
do
it.
as a musician.
Yeah.
And I think right now in this quarantine, we're all having to realize the thing we really need from our jobs is what is the most pastoral thing we can do.
Wow.
As much as I really miss getting chords in tune with my choirs,
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
as much as that really is the thing I enjoy most in my work,
yeah,
I have recognized that perhaps just the words of It Is Well With My Soul
yeah,
are going to do far more for my congregation right now.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
I saw a church. Somebody had played back a worship service where they were just, somebody was just singing a hymn, and this woman had to be in her late 80s, maybe early 90s, and to watch someone who didn't grow up with that kind of technology holding her hands together, rocking back and forth, singing along with the hymns. It was like she was having this precious moment of that congregational singing that was happening with one person singing it coming through, and that one person
Yeah.
playing piano coming through. And so I think that, like you say, producing content and material that you freely give away. Like, I mean, I've sung, people just call me, can you sing a hymn? Yup, sing right into the camera, upload it on Facebook, upload it on SoundCloud. Here's the MP3. I had a colleague
you
use
saying, were you there for
in
my
the
Good Friday service?
I sang, were you there for your Good Friday service? It was in the garden. And the video montage she did was basically walking at daybreak. And it was watching the sky go from dark to light. She had a lantern and that music was playing underneath. And I'm like, and that fed so many other people. So what are the ways, like you say, to be pastoral? The pastoral care piece is critical right now. It's
Mhm.
critical. So as musicians and artists, man, pastoral care through the arts.
Mhm.
I'm gonna let you write that book, Phillip. Go ahead.
No, 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 thank you. But I will say, are there questions in the chat room or those who want to call in with their questions about that issue, about
Mm.
how this creativity and collaboration can be both pastoral for ourselves and for our congregations? I know for me, it's essential to my mental health right now that
Mm.
I have conversations like this one and keep in touch with my colleagues. So, Pam, folks, what are you thinking?
So I'm seeing several messages come up in the question field. I should start with one comment from Joanne Sharp, who said, "I don't have a question, but I would like to thank Tracy for writing it for us altos." And she also says, "You all are the best to spend the afternoon with." So that's great.
Oh,
Um,
Joanne.
there's a question from John Sal. Um, he says, "How can we support and encourage presbyteries, congregations, and local communities to understand that this is a significant part of the health and giftedness of our leaders and members? And how can we encourage the connections among colleagues within regions or broader to support this kind of creative collaboration rather
Mm.
than an extra that those who are most creative seek out?" Big question.
That's a big one.
It's four questions, John.
Thank you.
So I'll try to break them down for y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're great questions. So, Tracy and Aisha, in your work as presbyters, how do you encourage the pastors whom you pastor to make sure that this kind of work is part of what they do?
Tracy, am
This is a convicting question because I'm listening to this question and I'm thinking, I don't know if I do. I don't know
mm,
if I encourage
mhm.
creative collaboration among pastors, whether it's musical or any other creative endeavor. And so actually, thank you for the question because it really has me thinking I need to find ways to do that. Not everybody's a songwriter. I can't say, oh, you all should write songs, but finding that everybody's got a certain creative ability and finding ways to help people spark it from one another, which I will say I see happening in some of our pandemic Zoom conversations, because people will come in and say, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know my butt from a hole in the ground, and this is upside down. I shouldn't say that, should I? Okay.
Already been said.
Already been said.
But and then someone else will say, well, I tried this thing, and then that'll spark something in another person there. But I can't say I am actually helping to make all of that happen. I witness it, but I'm convicted now. So I'm going to be looking for ways to do that.
Aisha?
I want to say two things. One, redefining creatives, like Tracy said, like getting the theological foundation that those who have been created by the creator have been called to create themselves. And so the question is, how do you tease apart what you're creating for the church and who are you outside of the church? So I think if you can get leaders, and the only way to do it is to lead by example. So part of the reason why I'm, getting a musical app or showing that if I demonstrate I'm a presbyter and a person who creates, that particularity of that gift is singing and songwriting, but it has to be teased apart. Now I can do all that for the church, but if I'm just doing it for the church and not who am I in and of myself, I'm watching people bake bread. I'm watching people color with their kids. I'm watching folks become stand-up comedians. I'm watching folks become gardeners. I'm watching folks, start stillness and mindfulness. I'm watching folks do amazing stuff. I started taking piano lessons again. Like, just how do you model that everything that you do is not just the church? So that if you're churning that creativity as a leader, like, who am I in connection with God and what is God calling me to birth forward? Then that permeates into the church, into the community, society at large. So I think redefining what it means to who we're calling creatives, meaning anybody who's alive. I mean, just
Yeah.
seriously. I'm serious, right? You're
And
alive. Okay. So what are you creating? But
Yeah.
also differentiating as a leader. It's not just the church. So
yeah,
that's sort of, and that includes Sabbath keeping. It includes a particular rhythm of life. So that's something that I've been convicted in this role. That we started studying more Sabbath stuff and emotionally healthy leader stuff. And I'm like, if there's no rhythm, you can't make space to create. It's not even possible. I would real
uh,
quick shout out to Credo. That's where I learned that I needed to have boundary, space, and creativity. Those are like my three areas of life. So that's another thing too. So.
well, if we're shouting out organizations, I know this is preaching to the choir in a PAM webinar, but the things that you are hinting at are what PAM is about. We are about collaborative experiences with each other and with God that we think can change the world and who we are. So that's exactly why we've done what we've done today and the Town Hall Forum series. So that's what we're hitting at. Any other questions in the chat there, Andrew, about creation and collaboration?
So no questions about creations and collaboration, but another uplifting and positive comment. This is from Brenda Brown. She says, "Thank you so much for sharing this wonderful song and the message and the mission of the song. It's powerful and inspiring. And thank you for all being here on this wonderful webinar. I plan to find a way to have the choir and hopefully the congregation sing this wonderful music." It's from Brenda from Philadelphia.
Yay!
Philadelphia.
That's my hometown. Yay!
I just remembered a musical question I had about the piece. So the harmony at the very beginning, we don't know what key it's in, and I love that. So the song is in G major, but it starts on this flat 6 chord. Was that intentional, or was that just you like that chord progression and went with it?
You mean the intro?
Yeah. And the refrain of the song actually echoes back to that too.
Right. Because we took the intro from the middle of the song, just took
Yeah.
Mhm.
this is who we are part and stuck it, in the middle there. And so in the context of the song, you get to that part and you're not at C, you know what key it's in. But when you
Right.
hear it at the beginning, starting out, you're going like, I don't know. And I kind of like that too.
Yeah. I didn't think it's not an uncommon occurrence in music, but it just it added a lot for me. It sort of made me intrigued from the very beginning of the song.
Good. There's
Um,
also the very first chord that people sing on, that the song comes in on. Instead of having the tonic in the bass, it has the third in the bass, which, it's not here or there yet. There's a
Ooh.
sense of like, we're kind of home, but not really.
yeah, we talked a lot about the theology of Easter in the text. There's a lot in the music too.
Mhm.
The fact that the piece begins on a flat six, the first moment when people sing, it's inverted and not stable and rooted in root position. All of those things speak to me about the first reaction of the people at the tomb.
Yeah, that's right.
Mhm,
That's
mhm.
right. That's right.
And those three chords that come to this is who we are. Those
Uh-huh.
they're still moving and they're finding their way.
That's right.
And then they're there. That's just,
Well, it is 3 o'clock.
ah,
Yeah.
Can you believe that? And thank you all so much. It has been so much fun. Um, Once again, Tracy and Aisha have granted you use of this piece. If you have a CCLI license, please report that. If you don't have a CCLI license, they have granted you free use of the piece. Andrew,
but
what
let
have I
us
forgotten?
know. Let us
Oh, yes.
know.
Report to
So,
Tracy and Aisha if you use
We
it.
would love to know. Yeah.
Thank you all for joining us. Andrew, I think I've forgotten something. Have I forgotten
I
something?
don't think you have, but I will take this time to share one last parting thought from Linda Lovins, who says this is a more than worthy piece of music to inspire our church's leadership and full congregation as we transition from more than 2 years in interim to our wonderful new pastor in these unique times, and I can't wait to share this. So obviously, this song is going to have many different powerful meanings for many different groups.
Oh,
Right.
good.
that's
Good.
great.
Thanks, Tracy and Aisha, and we'll let Andrew say goodbye to everyone.
Absolutely. We thank you
Yeah.
all for being here today for our weekly PAM webinar. Again, we try to do these every Monday at 2 p.m. Although, with that being said, we will have a special edition of our PAM Town Hall this Friday, May 1st, at 2 p.m. And this will feature our Executive Director, Kelly Abraham, as well as a few other familiar faces, all related to what's happening with our worship and music conferences. So you will want to be sure to tune in for that. We'll have lots of announcements posted on our social media pages, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and also on the PAM website, presbymusic.org. And so once again, I want to thank our wonderful, delightful presenters for such a fun hour of discussion about music and theology and just everything. It was wonderful. And thank you all for being here. We will see you next time.
Thank
Bye,
you.
y'all.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye. Thank you.